every good thing must come to an end. So, the season Manchester City is having should come as no surprise. From winning Premier League after Premier League to barely fighting for a Champions League spot. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. But it is a testament to their quality that merely fighting for a Champions League spot is seen as a downfall. But why? Why did this happen to Manchester City? How did this happen to Manchester City? Well, let's find out. Consider subscribing to our channel. It's free and helps us a ton. Thanks. Manchester City under Pep Guardiola has been a different beast. 4 Premier League titles on the trot, 6 of the last 7 Premier League titles, a Champions League that made a continental treble, countless domestic cups. That's a level of success that is almost unprecedented. And before anyone says, no amount of money or financial tomfoolery can buy this level of success. Otherwise, the crosstown rivals would be swimming in trophies right now too. But as we said, all good things come to an end. This season, City were out of the Premier League title race long ago. At one point, sitting as much as 20 points behind the eventual league winners, Liverpool. They were knocked out of the Champions League in the playoff itself, and while they did reach the FA Cup final, they ended up failing to win that too. And it is kind of understandable. The level of success City has had under Guardiola is very tough to maintain and honestly borderline unsustainable. Such continued success needs continuous refresh of tactics and personnel. So what exactly happened to Manchester City? The easiest reason to point towards is injuries. Manchester City have had a terrible luck with injuries this entire season. Right at the beginning of the season, they lost their talisman, Rodri. Losing the Ballon d'Or winner and the best defensive midfielder in the world for the entire season through an ACL injury would affect any team. And it was no different for Manchester City. But that's not all. City's entire backline has been in and out of the infirmary throughout the season. Ederson, Nathan Ake, Ruben Dias, Manuel Akanji, John Stones have all missed significant chunks of the season due to injury. And a lot of times they have come back not fully fit only to get re-injured. Ake and Stones have missed the most number of games like this, and as of making of this video, Stones and Akanji are both out for a significant amount of time due to injuries. But the injury bug didn't only bite the defenders. In the midfield, Kevin De Bruyne and Mateo Kovacic also missed a few matches to injuries. Oscar Bob, a promising young prospect, has been out for the entire season. That's a lot of injuries to deal with. But you would think that a club of Manchester City's stature would be able to deal with injuries and would have enough squad depth to replace the injured players. But it doesn't work like that. First off, how do you replace a player of Rodri's stature? There's a reason City are vulnerable when he doesn't play. He is the player that binds the whole team. A conductor, a disruptor, an interceptor. There are qualities that only he possesses, and it'll be so difficult for any other player to emulate what he does. But that's not all. Players need rhythm to perform, and we are constantly getting injured, going in and out of the squad. It's difficult to build any sort of rhythm and match fitness. And that brings us to our second point. This Manchester City squad has been out of form and has lacked rhythm throughout the season. They have been so leggy, so tired since the beginning of the season, and it is clear that the workload of the past seasons without a proper downtime has finally taken its toll on the Man City players. Elite players like Bernardo Silva and Phil Foden have looked shell of their former selves at various points in the season, while Gundogan, who returned to City last summer, and Kovacic, the two midfielders who are tasked with manning the centre of the park, have just not been able to fill the Rodri-shaped hole. This also plays into why Manchester City has been so poor this season. Despite the personnel in the backline being in and out, the real issue has been in the midfield. Time and time again, Manchester City's midfield has felt non-existent. Opposition teams have found it so easy to cut through the middle, bypass City's midfield in 1 or 2 moves. At 34, Gundogan, who has never been a natural defensive midfielder, has been tasked with screening the backline, and that's just not something he could do. he never really had the pace or the ability to intercept or disrupt ball progression, but this season he has been left exposed whenever he's played there. Kovacic, who himself was brought in after Gundogan's departure, has had the same issues. They just don't possess the qualities of someone like Rodri. In defense, the rotating door of injuries and out-of-form defenders meant City mostly played with half-fit, overworked personnel who would capitulate at the first sight of pressure. There have been way too many individual errors leading to goals, and through the season, City's propensity to collapse in the final moments of the game has reared its ugly head. Whether it was the collapse from 3-0 to 3-all draw against Feyenoord, a 2-0 lead to 4-2 loss to PSG, the 2-1 lead to 3-2 loss to Real Madrid, or back home in the league from a 1-0 lead to a 2-1 loss in the dying moments against Manchester United, or leading 2-0 against Brentford to eventually collapsing to a 2-all draw in the final moments. This has been a season of collapse for Manchester City. At one point in the Premier League, 31% of goals City had conceded came in the final 15 minutes. They look completely jaded and crumble at the mere sight of pressure. But that means we gotta talk about the man in charge, Pep Guardiola. One of the biggest questions that has arisen out of this season: has Pep Guardiola lost his mojo? Is he no longer just good enough? How did he let this happen? Now Pep is known as one of the best coaches in the world. We would go as far as to say that he may just be the best coach football has ever seen. And one of his most touted qualities is his ability to solve problems. City doesn't have a recognized left back? Convert one of the many midfielders into left back. City doesn't have a recognized striker? Use one of the midfielders and play false nine. Despite the very popular belief that Pep is a quote-unquote checkbook manager, he has always adapted to different problems and found solutions. So how come he hasn't been able to do this season? Because at the end of the day, he's human. Despite his supposed otherworldly abilities, he's prone to making mistakes. He's made them even when he was constantly winning. But this season, his biggest mistake has been sticking with the players who haven't been able to pull things back for the team. Pep has time and time again gone back to the same players instead of giving the academy more chances. While City kept struggling in the midfield, Jacob Wright, a defensive midfielder and an academy product, hasn't received any minutes. James McAtee has had the same issues getting into the squad. On the other hand, over-reliance on Gundogan and Rico Lewis, who have struggled for form, has cost City. Jamai Simpson-Pusey, a central defender by trade and another academy product, only got chances when City ran out of defenders to put on the pitch. Now, one can say that Guardiola's apprehension regarding putting young, raw talent on the pitch is justified because putting them in the line of fire when the team is underperforming can damage their confidence. But even then, going back to the same underperforming players haven't borne any fruits. The final stretch of the season did see more of academy products like Nico O'Reilly and McAtee, but maybe it was too little, too late. But this also brings us to another problem with this season's Manchester City, and that is lack of investment in the squad. Now, you would hear that and say, what are you even talking about? Manchester City has never lacked in funds or investment in the squad, and you would be right to an extent. But we aren't talking about it simply in monetary terms or personnel acquired. We are talking about key positions. While Manchester City has always spent money to bring in loads of players, key positions at times have remained unaddressed. For example, despite many midfield acquisitions, Rodri has never had a proper backup. Or, when Julian Alvarez left in the summer, City did not invest in his replacement. The core of the squad has aged and haven't had a refresh in some time. Ederson, Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Gundogan, Kovacic, etc., who made the core of the team, all got up there in age without any clear replacements waiting in the wings. It did not make them bad players suddenly or invalidated their contributions to the team, but there's a reason City had to go on a shopping spree in the winter transfer window, something they usually avoid. Kyle Walker needed replacing 2 seasons ago, and City have yet not invested in fullback positions. All these factors have mixed in to make the season what it has been for Manchester City. So, Does that mean City's time at the top is over? Only time will tell. Guardiola is at the club for at least one more season after this, and it is guaranteed that the summer transfer window will see a lot of activity by Manchester City. Certain players will be moved on, new players will be acquired, and only then can we properly assess if this is truly the end of an era. Kevin De Bruyne has left the club after a decade of service, and there's a chance more will leave too. From Ederson to Bernardo Silva, from John Stones to Nathan Ake, nobody is safe. The likes of Omar Mamouche, Doku and Savinho seem to be more integral to the team, while it remains to be seen if Nico Gonzalez, Abdulkadir Khosanov, Vitor Reyes, Claudio Echeverri etc. make any long-term impact. The search for Kevin De Bruyne's replacement is already ongoing, and it will be one of the toughest assignments for City scouts. Couple all of that with the impending verdict on City's charges regarding financial rule breaches, and there is still a lot to come. But till then, any eulogy written about City's demise would be premature. Thank you for watching. Like if you liked it, share if you found it worthy, and subscribe. This is Salty Football.